Hey guys, Buffy Game back today, bringing you a video for our weapon conversion series for our Cold War weapons, and today we're covering the LC-10 and its conversion to something more similar to a Walther MPL is what it's supposed to be, with some changes and some liberties they've taken here in game. So go ahead and go into the game. I'll show you how to build this weapon. We'll show how it handles in game against bots as well as the recoil pattern, and then we'll go into some real life stats about the weapon. So let's go ahead and back out here and we'll take a look at the final design for the weapon here. If I go ahead and back out all the way so you can see it there. Let's go ahead and go in and we will strip down all of the attachments for this weapon. And here we have the base LC-10. Again, this is unlocked at tier, if we go ahead and look at the battle pass, this is going to be tier 30, I believe, is the weapon unlocked for this one. This is the second one, free weapon here for Season 2. So tier 31, we have the LC-10 here available. So we'll go ahead now, go back to our weapon, create a class, and here is our LC-10. So first off, for the optic, I'm just going to keep this very straightforward since we can't really do a lot of conversions with weapons here. They have this mock Picatinny rail here. We're going to go ahead and throw on just a quick dot LED. Again, this is just going to give us a 1.25 magnification. Nothing special, just a nice standard red dot optic here for this weapon. Next up for the muzzle, really two options here. In the gameplay, you're going to see I'm using the muzzle brake for the 45 APC. And if we go ahead and look at the SOCOM Eliminator would be your other option here, which would actually probably help out a little bit more with the vertical recoil, and it's also going to reduce your muzzle flash, so you'll stay off the minimap. However, no cons for the muzzle brake. It's going to reduce your vertical recoil by 4%, so I chose to go with that one. So we'll go ahead and select the muzzle brake for the 45 APC. And again, then we'll go ahead and look at the barrel option. We're going to leave the base barrel. The MPL and the MPK, we'll get into that more in the video here, but the MPL itself was, I believe, a little bit, slightly over a 10-inch barrel, and here the shortest barrel option we have is 11, so the base barrel itself, therefore, looking at it, would be around 10 to 10.5 inches, which is what the real-life version would be coming in around just over 10 inches at 10.2. Then there's also the MPK variant, which would be 6.8, and obviously we don't have anything below 11.4 here, so this would give us the MPL variant of the weapon. So we'll leave the base one. It should be around 10 inches for the barrel option here. Body, we'll go ahead and throw on a SWAT 5mm laser. Now, obviously, looking at the weapon, there's nowhere for this to attach, so we're kind of, I'm assuming this is going to be duct taped down to the side. There's no Picatinny rails or anything here in the 1980s, so there's nothing really showing what it's attached with. But that SWAT 5mm laser is going to give us the 36% increase to hip fire accuracy. The cons is the ADS speed by 8%, but we select that, and again, you can look, it's just kind of thrown on there. There's nothing that it's really connected to or by. Maybe some sticky tape, I'm guessing, but again, it does look pretty aesthetically cool on there on the side. Also, that's going to help out with our hip fire accuracy. Underbarrel option, I chose to go with the bruiser grip. This is going to help out with the movement speed, sprint to fire speed, shooting movement speed, and the aim walking and movement speed. So help out with overall ergonomics and movement. However, looking at this in Warzone, it appears that this option, the bruiser grip, gives it different stats, one including hip fire accuracy. So I may be wrong about that, but we're going to go with this one just for those purposes. Again, this is going to be more of a CQC build for more so hip firing, which you'll see in the gameplay. Magazine, we're going to go with the base option of just the standard magazine. I believe it comes in at 32 to 36 rounds. You have the option here for a 45 round of the 45 APC. You also have all the way up to a 52 round option here. Again, this would be a fast mag as well. So you have a 52 round option. That's one thing there. However, the ammo itself, there's a lot of attachments here that say APC, which is weird because it's ACP. So I don't know why that is. It's very strange. Also, the Walther MPL and MPK series in real life is a 9mm, as we saw also in Black Ops 1. We had the MPL. Again, that's a 9mm submachine gun. So we have 45 ACP is what this is chambered in here in Cold War and Warzone. However, all the attachments are listed as APC, which I'm not sure why that is. And just reading it, you may have heard me. I did kind of a double take there because I was wondering, am I remembering what the cartridge is called incorrectly? But it is actually named wrong here, at least with the attachments here on the weapon attachments, unfortunately. And I think that may even be the case in Warzone when you pick this up. It may even say APC there as well, incorrectly. So, magazine options, handling, again, we're not going to do anything for that. And then stock option, this is interesting. I'm going to go with the wired stock. There's no aesthetic change besides that rubber pad on the top of the stock there. If I back out to the base, you can see how the pad looks versus the wire stock. You can see it's more a rounder variant versus more of a square type variant of the pad there on the top of the skeleton stock. So there's no changes. However, this will help out with your sprint to fire speed, which is going to be nice with this. So we'll select that one. However, I want you to look at some of these other options here, and then we're going to compare this really quickly. So look at some of these buttstocks. Very interesting looking buttstocks here, specifically this one, the combat stock. If we select this, and this brings me to my next point, you can see here, this weapon looks very similar to the Arctic Wolf, or the LW3 here, as it's known in game. Very, very similar. It almost is the same weapon, just in SMG format, especially with that stock option we put on there. It's basically very similar, if not the same stock as is on the LW3, as well as the body options. You can see there the handguard, where the grip and everything is going, is looking very, very similar. So they have some very odd furnish on this weapon. Not sure why that is. Not sure if they did that on purpose, but it looks a little odd. Just thought that was interesting. But go ahead and select the wire stock, and this is our final variant for the Walther MPL, utilizing that 10.2-inch barrel option there. And if we go ahead and look at the appearances with the camouflage, you can see it actually looks pretty good with some of these camos, specifically the shards, the ambush. And if we look at some of the classics, always the platoon looks really nice too. And it kind of makes it look more so of an MPL, because we're ignoring that odd green furnish that we have on the base weapon. So if we look at that, obviously that looks really nice. For some reason, when you inspect it, the camouflage goes away. I'm not sure why that is, but you can see what it looks like here. Looks a lot better. Looks more in line with an MPL. As we jump into the gameplay here, again, you'll see me using this in-game against bots here. Nothing special, just really trying to test out the hip fire, use it that way, because it really appears how this weapon would be best at. However, it does have pretty decent range, specifically in Warzone. It's something I'm looking forward to kind of trying this out and seeing, especially because it is a 45 ACP round. It should deal pretty heavy damage, and it does have a pretty high rate of fire as well. So it should be really interesting to see this and play with it, especially once they buff the agency suppressor pros and cons, which they reverted back to kind of harming the damage at range and bullet velocity. Once they revert that change here for Season 2, it should definitely be a good contender for one of the better SMGs, especially because it has that larger round than a 9mm. It should hit much harder than a MAC-10 or something. It does have a pretty decent fire rate also, like I said. So, looking at this weapon, as we said, it's based heavily off of the Walther MPK MPL series. This one specifically with the barrel line is going to be more in line with the MPL. Key differences there are going to be, obviously, there's a lot of liberties taken with the body furnish for this weapon, the chassis of the weapon there. The select fire switches above the pistol grip are obviously different. They're in a similar spot, but they're different select fire switches, as well as the weapon in game being 45 ACP versus in real life the Walther MP MPL series was a 9mm variant, 9x19 Parabellums to be more exact. So some liberties definitely taken with this weapon, but if we look at the MPL, this is definitely what it's supposed to be, especially because this weapon was in, the MPL was in Black Ops 1. Some of you may remember that. Pretty good SMG for the game if I remember way back then when that came out, playing that. But again, the MPL has been in service since 1963. Production lasted around 20 years, 1963, until it was eventually halted in 1985 because sales became very, very sluggish, and it was really phased out and replaced by the MP5 at that time. So the place of origin is West Germany, obviously there when there was East and West Germany separated by the Berlin Wall, where the United States and NATO controlled West Germany, and then the Russians controlled East Germany. So this came out of West Germany. Manufacturer is Karl Walther GmbH. Production a little over 20 years there, 1963 through 1985. Two different variants, as I mentioned, were the MPK, which is actually a shorter barrel variant of the MPL. So the MPL, as we said, is 10.2 inches. The MPK came in 6.8 inches. So just a more compact version of the weapon, both firing 9x19 in real life. The mass overall for the MPL is going to be 6.6 pounds or 3 kilograms, whereas the MPK came in slightly later at 6.17 pounds or 2.8 kilograms. So not a big weight difference, just a shorter barrel is the only change there. Didn't really add or subtract much weight from the weapon overall. The length overall of the weapon with the stock extended. We have that key skeleton stock, which again, here on the LC10, it looks very similar to the Walther MPL, MPK series stocks as well. The stock extended is going to come out to 29.4 inches or 18.2 inches with it folded in. Also, the cartridge in real life is going to be 9x19, which again, that's another discrepancy along with the chassis and the whole body furniture of the weapon and the select fire switches and things like that, is that the in-game it fires 45 ACP versus the real life version of 9x19. It has a direct action blowback system. Rate of fire is going to be in real life 550 rounds per minute. It seems like it fires much faster than that here in game. That's for sure. So we'll have to wait and see what those measurements will look like. The effective range in real life is going to be 100 meters with the MPK and 200 meters with the MPL. This is definitely a submachine gun PDW type weapon for the Cold War era. The feed system is a 32-round box detachable magazine. Obviously, we see all the way up to 52 or 53 rounds here in Cold War as well as Warzone. And then obviously just iron sights, really. There was no optic mounts on this weapon in real life to my knowledge, since production started in 1963. I don't believe there was ever any need for optics on this as well back then. But here in game, obviously, there's a lot of liberties taken with a mock Picatinny rail. The laser somehow fits on the side, things like that. And then obviously the entire body furniture of the weapon looks very odd overall. Very similar to what we see with the L3W Tundra here in game. It's basically that weapon turned into an SMG and shortened down. It looks really strange. But again, this is supposed to be the Walther MPL. Let me know what you guys think of this weapon. Have you played with it a lot in Cold War yet? I really personally haven't got my hands on it too much. I used it a little bit off a guy I picked it up off of in Warzone. I do like it. It's pretty good. Let me know what your favorite setup is for Warzone, and so I can cover something like that when I do a Warzone video for this, as well as how you like to play with it in multiplayer. Is it really a good weapon, and do you think it's going to maybe take over the meta of the MAC-10 is really the main question, or at least be a viable contender is all I'm hoping for. But have to wait and see. Let me know down below what you guys think of this. Again, this is the new LC10 submachine gun firing 45 ACP here for Black Ops Cold War Season 2. We're going to be getting some more weapons here down the road here, mid-season update. Hopefully here, maybe at the 1-year anniversary on the 11th, or at least the third week after the update. Usually the second or third week we get that third weapon as well as some additional, seems like melee weapons coming. So let me know what you guys think. This is Butler Gaming with the LC10 conversion to the Walther MPL. Till next time, Butler Gaming out.